Hello and welcome to today's program, Driving Traffic to Your Website, Tips, Tricks, and Strategies. This webinar is being presented by Carrie Baskin, SCORE volunteer, an experienced marketer for over 30 years with international brands and companies, and founder and owner of the marketing department. Carrie's marketing agency helps small businesses target ideal customers, generate leads online, and provides affordable website and digital marketing solutions. Thank you, Carrie, for sharing your experience today on this important topic, and I trust all of us will find it very informative and helpful. Next slide.
The slide's not advancing. That's weird.
Hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Great.
I don't know why that stopped.
Who knows? My name's Maria Smith, and I'm a volunteer with SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. SCORE is a nonprofit organization that has been in existence for over 50 years and is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. SCORE's mission is to foster a strong small business community by providing free mentorship and business education. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Here in Chester and Delaware counties, we have 100 volunteers ready to help. Our mentoring and most of our educational programs are free. You will find many tools, templates, and other business resources on our website resource library. Okay, next slide.
I'm not sure what's
yeah.
Okay.
You can use your arrow button if that's
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. I don't know what's going
on. Today's program is scheduled for 1 hour till 11 o'clock. The presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you after today's session. You all have been placed on mute, so we avoid distractions. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take a break in the middle of the program and at the end of the program to answer your questions. Okay, I think we can get started, Carrie.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate it, Maria. Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled and excited to share some information and insights about driving traffic to your website. We're in a pretty exciting time right now, particularly with artificial intelligence coming on the scene. So the technology is moving in a pretty rapid pace right now. So there's a lot of new insights in here that were freshly added to this presentation. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, just some introductory slides that I'm going to move through pretty quickly, but the slides are here for you that you can spend some time with and delve into more detail. But I'll talk about something called buyer persona and website traffic. This concept of build it and they will come, why we need website traffic, goal setting, and throughout the presentation, which is all brand newly added in the last couple of weeks, I introduced some AI tips along the way. Then we'll talk about the definitions of the 5 basic types of website traffic, and then we'll jump into the core marketing strategies and give you some key takeaways. So the first and most important thing to remember is that website exists for your customers, and it's really incumbent on the business owner and the marketing people on your team to really understand who that customer is and what's known as their buyer persona, which is kind of like creating this fictitious person that is your ideal customer, and then profiling them, understanding their likes and dislikes, the demographics, where and how they access information, what information they're actually looking for, what problems they might have, and how you as a business owner or as a business can solve those problems and address their issues. And this is done very heavily through this idea of content, because websites are basically content vehicles. And in these days, you can utilize AI to actually help you create your buyer persona by just putting in a prompt that says something simply as like, be my marketing coach, visit this website and help me develop my persona. So build it and they will come has nothing to do with website traffic. Just because you have a website doesn't mean it's going to be recognized effectively by the search engine. It doesn't mean that it's going to draw any people to your website. So websites actually have to be marketed in order to generate traffic to the website and give you and achieve, the two core goals that are associated with that, which is to first build trust in your brand, because roughly 90% of the time, and there are lots of studies around this data, roughly 90% of the time, people will go to your website before they pick up the phone and call you. So the first time people encounter your brand is usually through your website. So it's incumbent on you to make sure that your brand presentation is really pristine and perfect. And then secondarily is to capture emails or to make a sale, which is the business side of the website. I put a model up here of how you can set up a goal to determine how much website traffic that you need. And you can basically take this, transform it into a spreadsheet and kind of build out your assumptions. So I just modeled a few different ideas for you on how you can structure this and make the calculations and then set up a revenue goal driven by the amount of traffic that you're projecting. Okay. Now we're going to jump in very quickly and just give you Google's definition of the 5 different types of website traffic that we are able to build. The first and most basic is people type your website URL into the search box and you hit enter and you're immediately taken to your website. Or if someone has bookmarked your website URL in a favorites bar or something like that, then it'll take you there as well. And Google treats that as direct traffic. Secondarily is paid traffic, whether it's on social media or on any of the platforms that are out there. If it's made from a paid click, Google treats that as a paid search. Then we have social. So any links to your website from a social channel is considered social traffic. And then we have organic, which is naturally coming up in a search result. And that search result could be the typical search result panel or the Google Map panel that's here. And search is driven, organic search is driven by the relevancy of the search intent and then the search engine's response to that. And then we have finally referral traffic, and there is really good, bad, and ugly referral traffic. So referral refers to a backlink. So if someone has your URL, your website domain name on their website that links back to your website, that's referred to as a backlink. And then there are good ones and bad ones. So let's take a look at that. A good referral is from high quality websites. Think New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post, Time Magazine, any of these high quality publications or industry specific, well-respected industry publications, and any of those platforms that provide a link to your website is really very, very high quality and will improve the authority of your website. Then we have directory links where we actually list a citation. It's a listing of your business information on these sites. There are thousands of them out there, and we'll get more into that in a few minutes on the strategy side. And then social shares. Anytime your website might be mentioned in a post is another way to get it. These are all considered good referrals. And a good referral really helps your authority of your website. There's something called a domain authority, which is a proprietary measurement that basically predicts the probability of your website coming up in a search result for a given search term. Then there's low quality. It's okay, but general purpose websites. General purpose directories that are out there, and there are thousands of them. Guest blogging, unless it's on a very, very high quality website, is sort of mediocre value. Social sites, again, they don't have a huge amount of value if they're there. Public relation links sometimes are okay, sometimes they're not okay. Again, it depends on the quality of the news source. And then relationship links from vendors, suppliers, subcontractors, chambers of commerce. All these things are okay, and they add a little value in terms of adding some traffic, but they don't really improve the quality of your domain authority. So good to have, but not something to invest a lot of money in to get. And then we have ugly referrals, which come from strategies that are not really very valuable. And I'm sure all of your inboxes have been hit with emails with businesses claiming to get your blogs posted on hundreds of different websites. You should never use this strategy because third-party services, they heavily syndicate the same content across many sites, repurposing the same blog and getting it published. But you spend a lot of money, but the Google's algorithm only really recognizes the first time that it's published. So having it being published on 100 different sites adds zero value. And in fact, Google can penalize your domain for using this strategy. And there's comment spam, which is not valuable and can be hazardous, and links from non-relevant websites or really websites that have been blackballed from other from Google, something like a porn site that might be linking nefariously with some malware to your website would be treated as a bad referral. I guess this is a good time to pause. If there are any questions in the Q&A chat, we can discuss them.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Nothing in the chat or the Q&A at this
Okay,
point.
very good. We'll just jump in.
Keep plugging along.
Yeah, so that was a quick definition and a little bit introduction there. I kind of breezed through that, and you can watch the video or see the presentation, copy it, and spend a little more time to delve into each one of those, because I wanted to have as much time as we could to go through the actual 6 strategies here. So let's take the first one. We mentioned this before, that there is a network, an ecosystem of many thousands of directories out there. And anytime your business is listed in one of these directories, it's called a citation. Google uses these citations to help with local search. And if you'll notice that some of the circles on here are larger than some of the other ones that are looking like they're smaller little sources. These large circles are what's called data aggregators. And the purpose of these organizations is they actually collect data on businesses. And oftentimes with a particular mission in mind for their business model. But those data aggregators provide the data to the many thousands of other directories that are out there. So they're the pivotal part of the ecosystem. And you'll notice here that one of the data aggregators is Google themselves. So you can have something called a Google Business Profile, which every business owner should set up as a listing within Google. But Google relies on the ecosystem for the accuracy of this data. So if your phone numbers are different on different directories, if your website URL has a typo in it on some of those directories, the business hours is not displayed the same or different. Your business category description on throughout the ecosystem is different. If Google is looking for all these errors, if they see a lot of errors across the ecosystem, they are less likely and less willing to put you in the top of the search results if someone is looking for your business locally. So the idea here is that these directories really enable local business searches of, looking for a business near me kind of search. And you can see how all of these arrows are really pointing right into the Google search itself. Now, this is a complex ecosystem, and because there are so many of them, there are resources out there to help you with finding and organizing this. These three are all fee-for-service type of providers, and are recommended as a strategy because it's just overwhelming to try to manage something of this big. So if you're a local business trying to draw local traffic, it is worth the effort and the cost to do this. Moz Local is an annual subscription service. Whitespark and Bright Local are kind of one and done strategies where you pay for it once and then it's kind of taken care of. And because it's an ecosystem and there are thousands of these things, this process can take several months to take full effect. Okay, next up is using social media to increase your website traffic. So the strategy here is to post on social media. You know, I'm having a technical issue here. Okay, post on social media to promote your content. Use bullet lists in your content so that the engagement is easy to read and more relevant. Use relevant hashtags, tag influencers who may be interested in the content, and give a compelling reason for people to click the website. And there are lots of different strategies and rules of thumb about using social media posts, but think of it as a place that you can educate and inform your customer. And then from an AI point of view, you can use AI to actually generate social media post ideas. It's not a copy and paste strategy, but you put in the prompts into something like ChatGPT and give it that highly well organized, structured prompt, and it'll spit out 10, 15 posting ideas that you can use for your business. And then you can also use, just like you do on Instagram, for example, you can generate a list of hashtag suggestions to help generate with the, and you can also use AI to create engaging headlines that will work for you as well.
Hi, Carrie, it's Maria. We do have one question that actually pertains to this particular topic you're on.
Okay.
It's for listing resources. Should you pick one or
Yes.
do all three?
No, just do one.
Okay, great. And are there any resources for removing bot comments from posts? They seem to severely negatively affect outreach.
Yeah, I'd have to defer that question to the social media gurus on that. But I'm not positive on the answer, so I don't want to mislead anyone on whether or not. I know that for websites oftentimes we get there's so much spam that hits the website postings that we oftentimes disable them or force the software to say, okay, that spammy post has to be reviewed by the website owner before it's allowed to be displayed. So on the website side, there are some tools that are available to either completely disable that or to make sure that it's curated before it's allowed to be displayed. But I'm not sure on the social media side of that question.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Then we can use on the social media side, there's another way to think about social media. Think of it as a distribution network to promote your content. Because if you're spending time, energy, and resources to put a lot of content on your website, which you should be doing, you want to promote it as heavily as you can. Okay, so YouTube is also owned by Google, and Google loves videos over general print style content. So if you're really looking to maximize the content strategy on your website, I always recommend to clients that they start with a video that you put up on YouTube, then add the video to the website as a blog post, create a transcription of the video script and use that as the copy for the blog post with in addition to the viewer activation. And then post the articles on as many social sites as are relevant to your target audience. So it's not every social media channel that's out there. It's really the ones where, based on your buyer persona, you know where your ideal customer is hanging out, spending time. So use it strategically, and then make sure that you put your post on the Google Business Profile, and then submit the article on widely read social platforms. And if you can figure out where your ideal customer is looking at those kinds of things, that's even better still. But there are some broadly based ones, like I put up 2 here, but there are many, Medium and Quora. And then you can use AI to create a prompt that requests ChatGPT to recommend some video topics for you, and basically give you an editorial calendar of videos. And if you can't afford to do videos, then you can do the same strategy with a written blog post. You still would want to have the article on your website. You still want to share it on your social channels, add it to a post on your Google Business Profile, and then begin to connect with widely read platforms. Okay. You can also use social media strategically if there are groups that are on there, and there are groups for virtually any kind of business and any kind of product or service. You can join a social media group and start interacting with the audience that way. You should also consider monitoring conversations your ideal customer is using with social tools, and there are several that are out there. Some are more expensive than others, but Google Alerts is free as one strategy. But there are other platforms that are out there, and they're basically listening to what conversations are happening out there and what trends are happening with these conversations, and then use that insight strategically for your content strategies. And then you can pay influencers to promote posts your business. This is pretty expensive because many of these influencers have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of followers, but sometimes it's a strategy that really works, particularly if you have something that is a really big deal that you're really trying to get out there. And if you know where your what podcasts or who your ideal customer is following on the social medias, and if you can find an influencer that is really zeroing in on your target audience, sometimes it's worth to do that. And we want to build relationships online, making sure that you reply to comments and reviews. Reposting content on social sites is a common strategy, because at any given time, for example, on Facebook, only 5% of your followers are actually seeing your posts. So reposting is giving another percentage of your audience the chance to see what you're doing. And then you can tag them and notify that person that you've mentioned them. So if you're following other people's posts, you might want to tag them, let them know as well. So it's just a way to stay active on social media. Most business owners that I know don't really have time to really use social media effectively, and it's always best to outsource that activity where you're actually paying someone to spend the time to actually, do those posts, and then follow it and respond to comments and such, and then evolve the strategy over time. You can use AI to generate the social media calendar. It's a pretty clever little thing that you can use the tool for. And then you can reply to ideal customers looking for answers online. So if you are following what's going on Quora, Reddit, and Answer.com, you can respond, and that makes you appear like a subject matter expert in your business and your industry. Okay, and then don't forget, you can build relationships offline that can benefit you in the online strategy. The most significant of that is to ask clients for reviews. Reviews plays a pretty significant role in the way Google responds to your brand and your online persona. If they see a lot of reviews, a lot of high quality reviews, they view your website as a trusted resource. and will help drive more traffic to that. And many people today will look at see how many reviews you got going on before they'll actually respond and decide to reach out to you, because it's a comparative benefit, right? If you have many more high quality reviews on your Google Business panel, or even on the social channels, that will help drive traffic to your website. And then don't be afraid to ask clients for referrals. Remember, 90% of the prospects will visit your website before calling you. So a personal referral that comes, or a review that you've requested from a client, is a very powerful tool that's available to you. And then, which is a strategy that we've used very effectively, is build a vendor referral network. So look for people who are servicing your ideal customer who are not your competitors. So in my example, we work with IT service management companies who basically, they do all the email management and technical IT support for clients, but they generally don't, and at least in our case, the ones that we work with, they don't develop websites. So, but they're communicating with their client base all the time, and they know when their clients are talking about new websites and such, or are having issues with their websites, and they oftentimes refer those clients to me. So use that strategy to build it. It's not a sort of a website traffic building idea, but it's just part of the strategy of using your offline environment to help you with your business. Next strategy is email marketing. We highly recommend this on a number of different ways. First of all, email marketing is kind of personal. It can be highly targeted. Usually anybody that's in your email database is someone that you've interacted with in one way or another over the course of building that email database. And it's extremely low cost. So it gives a pretty high return on investment. You have to do it with some good strategy. So you want to use it to build your leads up. Your webinars and podcasts is an effective strategy for that. Networking in person helps you build your email list, and properly done advertising, particularly online advertising, is a way to capture those emails as well. You want to be consistent about this strategy. Don't think of it as a kind of a one and done approach. You can use it for promotions, for newsletters, promote your content. Every time you post a blog or put up a new video, you can put an email blast to let people know that it's there. And make sure that your content is helpful. People get interrupted often enough. So the subject heading on the email blast is critical, but make sure that it appears that you're giving some helpful insights and information to them, so that there's a reason for them to open up that email and present it and read it. You can utilize AI to generate attention-grabbing headlines. So if you're not sure, or if you're not comfortable with figuring out what those headlines should be, you utilize AI to do that. You can tailor content based on preferences and behaviors, and AI can help you with that. It's all, the effectiveness of AI for something like this is really based on the quality of the prompt structure that you create, and it can be iterative. You can start at one level and work your way down. And there are some online webinars that I've already seen. Some of them were actually from SCORE. There's a person in our chapter that's kind of expert in this as well. So I encourage you to use the find a mentor tool on SCORE, and put that in as your preference, and see if that person can give you some assistance. The next strategy is advertising. And there are many different ways to advertise online. If you have a physical product, you can utilize shopping ads, Google, Etsy, Amazon, to name a few. Those are the really more high profile ones. You can use something called a remarketing ad. So remarketing ads have this strategy where you've installed a cookie. So anytime someone visits your website, or a website related to the kind of product that you're trying to sell, you can have a cookie installed. This is all something that's run on Google's algorithm. It's a platform strategy. And then anytime that person is out on the internet, they'll be presented with ads. So if you've been out shopping for sneakers or tires or anything like that, have you ever noticed how somehow your online activity is somehow peppered with ads that were related to what you were searching for the last few days? So these are all called remarketing ads. Fairly inexpensive on in a comparative basis compared to a traditional Google ad. But pretty effective, and works for physical products really well, and works especially well for service business related, because oftentimes services, you're not selling a physical product, so you don't have shopping ads as a strategy. But if you're a service business, you can use remarketing ads effectively and get the same benefit that you would with a shopping ad. Then you can use display ads on social media, and TikTok is low cost. But even in general, on a comparative basis to all 5 strategies here, social media advertising is still a pretty cost-effective way, but challenged depending on which platform you're on. For example, a Facebook ad on an ad on Facebook to your network is only about 5% of your audience that's following you is actually going to see that ad. So it's low cost, but depending on the platform that you're using, the effectiveness could be quite different. And then we have Google search ads, and lots of times people say, "Oh, well, I've never found them to be effective," kind of thing. And I would take issue with that. Google search ads. Google is one of the biggest companies in the world because of search advertising, and it does work. But you can't just throw the ad up and walk away from it and think that it's going to be effective. Ads have to be optimized, and you have to do some A/B testing to find the sweet spot for your target audience. The keyword research is absolutely critical to the effectiveness of these ads. So it does require some skill and expertise to make this work. And you only want to make sure that for any advertising that you do, whether it's online or offline, that you always use a landing page that's specific to the ad. It's not effective to run an advertisement and point people to your homepage, because people expect to see the website page that relates specifically to what your ad was promoting. And that improves the effectiveness of any of your advertising, is to use landing pages. And then you can use pre-roll for video ads. If you go to like Comcast.net and that's your homepage and you're watching news feeds from there, and there's a video that's coming up for news, you can run an advertisement that plays before the video itself. It's pretty effective for local advertising if you've got a product that is amenable to a video ad. Because you can get pretty broad reach with those kinds of ads. And then you can use artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and the like, for keyword research in your target market, which is really critical for any online advertising. You really need to know what people are searching for and make sure that that's part of the strategy of your ad. So print advertising has the same basic rule: point people to a landing page that relates specific to the ad and what you're promoting, and what promotional element you're incorporating. Don't make people search through your website to find the promotion. And the effectiveness of these things really depends on your market, your industry, whether you're a local, regional, etc., and how specific your product is, and whether or not what you're advertising for. If you've got a seasonal thing that you're trying to promote, it could work. Radio is pretty expensive. Cable TV is pretty inexpensive when compared to radio. Direct mail can be as expensive as cable TV, depending on whether or not you're just doing 1,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 postcards. So the cost of direct mail is quite variable. And print advertising, again, depending on what you're doing, can be more effective than cable TV and radio. I'll give you an example. We ran a open house campaign, and we tried cable TV and radio and print was actually more effective for driving more people to the open houses on a retirement community property than the other two options were. And you can use AI these days to draft your ad copy and even design the ad for you. Okay, the next core strategy is website optimization. So website optimization involves a couple of different things. First and foremost is what's called technical SEO. In order for your website to be properly indexed by the search engine, you have to make sure that the website architecture is structured correctly. And I've given and do continue to give SEO webinars on this. We can spend hours just talking about that one topic alone. So if you've developed your own website or kind of a homegrown thing, I would suggest consulting with someone who knows technical SEO to make sure that your website was properly indexed. There are tools that you can use to determine this, but they fairly expensive software tools oftentimes, but there are some free ones that are out there, like something called Screaming Frog. Is a tool that you can put your website domain in, and it'll give you some analysis. But if you don't know anything about SEO, you'll see the analysis results, but may not know what to do with it. But it's absolutely critical if you're trying to use your website for any kind of lead generation to have a technical SEO analysis of how well it was done. Then you want to make sure that you write original content for your website. And the content needs to target your ideal customers, buyer persona. So what information are they looking for? What is the buyer's journey? What is the content that they need to know at the beginning of the sales cycle, the middle of the sales cycle, and at the end of the sales cycle? And try to map out that content strategy and incorporate it onto your website. Making sure that you've used keyword analysis to figure out what keywords need to be incorporated in your content. So is it the content that drives the keywords, or the keywords that drive the content? Well, if you're looking to use this as a tool for lead generation, it's really understanding what your ideal customer is searching for online. So it is the keyword strategy that needs to be utilized to drive the content strategy and the informational strategy that you're trying to put on your website. And then, use this content to provide resources to your client base with data, insights, checklists, how-to information, whatever is relevant to that buyer's journey in terms of what they're looking for online, to determine what information they're looking for to make a decision in their buying process. Search engine optimization is expensive on a relative basis because it's an ongoing process. You can't just do it for a week and say, I've done it, kind of thing. It's something that you're going to do over many months because you're always constantly adding new content to your website after you've made sure that your technical SEO is taken care of. So it does take a long time and it's very competitive, right? It's not just putting content on there. Is this content that you're putting on your website better, more insightful, more robust than your nearest competitors that you're trying to compete with in your local market or your national market for that matter? And then critical to the SEO is to get backlinks. Backlinks, as we talked about earlier, is sometimes referred to as SEO gold because the best way to think of a backlink is a vote. The more backlinks you have pointing to your website, the more votes you have in your market. And Google basically says, well, the website with the most amount of votes is going to be ranked higher than the website with less votes. So getting backlinks on your website is critical to a successful lead generation strategy. And you can use AI to generate a list of suggested content ideas. And then you can use AI to even draft the actual content itself. But keep in mind that these AI platforms, while they can create interesting information, they do not know your customer the way you know your customer, and they don't understand they do not understand and know your competitors the way you understand and know your competitors. And they don't understand and know your buyer's decision process. So it's really incumbent on you to take that first level draft that AI might create for you, and then to add and introduce your knowledge, your expertise, your competency into that content and really make it your personal article. And to some extent, Google will know if you kind of copy and paste, because their algorithm is so smart that they can see that you just copied and pasted something from an AI result, and you don't really want to do that. So in terms of the content goal, you want to create unique information that demonstrates your expertise and experience. It helps build trust. It differentiates you from the competition. So I always suggest to clients, look at what your competition is doing. Look at what topics they're writing about. Look at what keywords are being mapped out in that content. Look at the size of the article. Is your competition writing 500-word blogs? Well, if you wrote 1,000-word blogs, you would probably rise to the top of the list much more quickly. However, if your competition is writing 15-word white papers on the subjects and you're going to try to do a 500-word blog every once in a while, you will never break through in terms of ranking. So you need to understand what your competition is doing in order to differentiate yourself. And it also, your content goal again is to help you with your target audience, knowing and understanding what your ideal customer is looking for. So you're writing for the customer, not for the search engine, but the search engine is evaluating what you're writing and comparing it to your competition all the time. And then the frequently posting this information is going to help you. Google's algorithm is kind of sending out little bots to your website on a regular basis, and the frequency to which that bot is dinging your website is really dependent on how often you're changing the content on your website. So if Google realizes that you're blogging only once a quarter or once a month, it won't come out to your website very often. But if it sees that you are blogging on a regular basis, like once a week kind of thing, then it will send that bot out there more frequently to get and capture that information. And that will help your ranking. So you're trying to use this content for link building. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you want to identify a list of potential websites that you might want to link to. So this requires serious research. If you don't have the time or the resources or the skill set to do that, there are third-party companies that you can hire that will basically use directories and various other research capabilities to figure out where your content can be curated to, and then help you negotiate with them to get your website content posted on their websites. And again, it's this time-consuming process. But if you're really trying to get high quality traffic to your website based on your target audience, this is a very important, critical step to do that. But again, you can still do it yourself. You can research the market, understand where your ideal customer is hanging out, what content they're reading from. and then see what kind of content's being on those websites, develop your own content strategy around that, and then reach out to those publishers or owners of those websites and offer to put your content on there. The other thing is you're never trying to syndicate the same content to multiple sites. I had mentioned this earlier. Google really only recognizes the first time that the content is posted. And any time, resources, or effort to put it in multiple locations is a waste of money and a waste of time. So it's not like it's a demerit to your website, it's just kind of ignored. And there are some tools out there, SpyFu and Uber Suggest are two that I post here, where you can find what's called low competitive keywords that your competitors are ranking for, or find long tail search terms with low competitive ranking. So what I mean by that is that a search result in one of these tools will list out 50, 100 different. In the free versions, they'll list out a relatively small list. In the paid versions, they'll put out a pretty huge list of keywords of that people are searching for in your market based on your keyword research. And it'll actually show you that this particular keyword has a very high volume, but is highly competitive. That a lot of websites are writing content around that keyword. But it'll also show you a list of keywords that have relatively low competition that people aren't writing for, and particularly long tail search terms fit right in, usually oftentimes are highly searched but low competition. And you can partner with influencers that will promote your brand, but again, there's some pretty high cost associated with that. Types of content you can create are blog articles, lists, data insights, how-to guides, and again, you can use Google Search Console, which is a free tool from Google, to actually see what keywords are being found, are being utilized to drive traffic to your own website, and strengthen that with even more content around that. And then finally, I'll want to just, again, this is not a purely traffic related thing here, but I've already given you at least 7 or 8 tips that you can utilize AI for helping you drive traffic to your website. But you know, future is already here with AI, and there are already now in the marketplace diagnostic tools to help you analyze competitors, analyze site visitors, analyze search engines, analyze your site architecture, and tools to help you generate content and blog posts and editorial calendars, and help you write the ads, etc., or website performance tools and capture. So I taught a demo just this last week where you can, if you're a B2B business and someone comes to your website, this AI tool will actually capture the name of the business, the contact name there, a phone number, an email address, and provide you that information so that you can start nurturing them as a lead. Really quite fascinating. And then on the website development side, we're seeing lots of tools that are out there now that are helping to improve things. One thing on the automated maintenance, just a cautionary note there, websites can be complex, and automated maintenance is not quite perfect yet, so it does require some monitoring and follow-up and such. So don't be taken in by too much by that. There is some work involved oftentimes, even if the back end of that is happening in a somewhat automatic way. So I want to give you 7 key takeaways here, and then we'll open it up to some questions. So first is an optimized website, rich and original content that demonstrates expertise is core if your website is being used for lead generation. Website marketing is a mix of online, offline, and personal strategies, as we basically described today. Knowing, reaching, connecting with your ideal customer is what you're really trying to do here. The flexibility and freedom to test every strategy to see what works, using data to drive your decisions. Google Analytics is a free tool. You can put it on for your website and then see where your traffic is coming from, see what content is generating traffic to your website. So there's an enormous amount of data that's available to you if you want to take the time to delve into it and see what's working for you. And then number 5 is proactive marketing strategies and management to ensure all those different forms of marketing. So we talked about several today, complement and coordinate with one another. So it's not a strategy where you just pick one thing and go with it. You want to take multiple approaches here, but do it in a coordinated way that complements each other. And that really means that you're really leveraging your budget to produce a compound value over time. And then finally, to leverage AI as a tool for efficiency. So not a solution, but just another tool in your toolkit to make you more efficient for you to generate content, generate editorial calendars, produce a list of hashtags, etc. Just use it as a tool to leverage what you're doing and investing in on the marketing side. And I guess with that, we will take some questions.
And we do have some questions.
Okay.
Okay, so from Chad, thank you for the presentation. Does the marketing plan change if I set up a store page on my website to sell digital and physical products? How can I drive people to my page?
Well, again, I think we talked about it. I laid out 6 different core strategies to driving traffic to your website. Whether it's a storefront or a traditional style website, it doesn't really matter. The same rules apply. On the storefront side, you could use any of those shopping ad strategies or remarketing ads as a paid way to do that. So that's a couple of ways, but I would say to kind of absorb everything that I presented, watch the recording of this presentation at a slower pace than I was able to do it because I wanted to get a lot of information in here. And then figure out which one of those strategies and your budget is most effectively can be utilized, and then try them out and do some A/B testing and see what works.
Thank you. Wendy's question is, if I want to buy email lists for my particular targeted audience in order to drive them to my website, what source or sources do you recommend?
Well, there are some companies, there are many companies out there. Many of them are directory companies, right, that are generating these lists. Generally speaking, if you are using a platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact and stuff, they will tell you on that platform that they frown upon the idea of buying mail lists, uploading it into their platform and trying to do email blasts from that, because they want every email that you're using to be opted in. So it's a risky strategy, and it's much better to network and communicate and get referrals from people and incorporate them in your mail list and build your mail list out over time rather than trying to use a mail list as a strategy.
Carrie, thank you for that. We have more questions. I just wanted to interject. I can share a SCORE experience because I help with the SCORE marketing team in Chester and Delaware counties. And we have a philosophy that we only will add your email to our list if you participate in one of our services like mentoring or like the workshop presentations that you're in today. And we have found that we get a much richer and better engagement from the email lists that we have and that we use. We also, I think you mentioned this, I think it's very important, Carrie, to find good partners and good influencers. And that's the other way that we capture the names. So good question. Very good. All right, we have more questions. And some of these did come up early in your content after we did the last break, Carrie. So maybe you covered them. Can I print the same article on Medium? This is capital M Medium from my website.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can utilize these other platforms to promote yourself out there. Just recognize that from a Google ranking point of view, it's only the first time that it's published that that you get the benefit from. but platforms like Medium and Quorum and such, they have a very large audience, right? And, you know, a huge audience of followers. So if you put your article up there and it gets some exposure, and people start asking questions about you and you get some interaction, that's really quite a good way to go. So yes, you can. And whether you can, I'm not sure if you mean the mechanics of copy and paste it. No, you have to log into those platforms and, you know, post your content up that way.
Okay, great. Next question. It seems that the best initial tactic for optimizing the website is its original development. Do you have any suggestions as to readings, networking groups, or other resources we should consult before developing the website or redesigning a less than productive website?
Well, you know, that to some extent, that's what's your business process for developing a website. I mean, I can only speak from my experience. When we do websites for clients, we generate a spec document, and actually tell the client what's being built, and incorporated in that spec document is the, you know, the SEO strategy that we're working around, to, you know, kind of demonstrate that the site architecture is included in development. So that's, you know, I would say work with reputable development people, and try not to do the homegrown thing. I recognize that sometimes when you're starting out and your budget is limited, and you're kind of stuck with, well, I guess I got to do one of these things myself, kind of thing. But I would advise against that, because again, your brand, the first time people will encounter your brand, is through your website 90% of the time. So that's the place you really want to make sure that you're getting it right. So I would encourage people to hire a professional, a website developer, for that. If you have a website right now and you want us to take a look at it, we offer a free consultation. It's no obligation, to work with us, but we'll still tell you what we see and what improvements might be warranted to help you with your technical architecture if there are some mistakes there.
Okay. Okay, from Nabla, a couple of questions here. How many reviews on average do you need? And is there a certain amount that seems to tip the balance?
Well, I don't have any data on the tip the balance side of it. But I would say you want more reviews than your nearest competitor, because in the search results, you'll come up in a list, right? So if your nearest competitor has got 35 and you've got 3, then the one with 35 is with a 35 with a high ranking, you know, 4 point something or better, is going to get that click well ahead of you. So it's really what's your competition doing.
Okay. And the next question is on email. I find it hard to build a list of qualified buyers. What strategies do you recommend for product-based businesses? And again, this may have come up before you shared.
Well, again, I think it's, to me, I built my email list over the years by a lot of networking and interacting with people. And any time somebody communicates with me, I capture that email. It's not something you can do overnight. It's something that you have to incorporate into the culture of your business. Everybody in your company should be involved in helping you build that email list, because everybody in your company is interacting with people who are potential customers, who are our customers, et cetera, and build it out over time.
Okay, very good. That was the last question. And we did have someone ask if the slide deck would be provided. All of you will receive the recorded webinar today, which of course shows all of the slides with Carrie's voiceover comments and even these questions that were answered. But you can see on his slide that's up right at the moment that if you want an actual copy of the presentation, just contact Terry at his email or his phone number, and you can follow up with him on that. I think we can start to wrap things up here. These were really good questions. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so Terry, thank you. You gave us a lot to think about and excellent practical examples and recommendations. As mentioned earlier, everybody's going to get the recording following today's session. It may come later today or first thing tomorrow morning from SCORE. SCORE is here to help you. Please remember that with your next steps on your business plans and challenges on this topic or other topics. Please reach out to your SCORE mentor for support. especially on such complex issues as your website and your communications plans. You're not alone in this process. If you aren't already working with a SCORE mentor, you can request one by going to our website link here, or by calling the phone number and speaking with Catherine, our office administrator, and she can help you match yourself with a qualified mentor. This information will also be included in the follow-up email from SCORE. By the way, SCORE mentors can meet you in person, on a video call, or by phone, whatever is most convenient for you and practical. And also, we have a large number of subject matter experts in our team. Mentors can bring those subject matter experts into the discussion. For example, today there were some questions about email. There were some questions about website optimization. We have people that are subject matter experts in addition to Carrie, who can be part of a discussion with a mentor. So don't hesitate to use that excellent resource. Okay, next slide. All right, this is contact information for any questions that you have for SCORE. And then right now,